It is Monday, December 28th, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. You know, sometimes I wonder if I'd get as much out of what I'm doing if I were doing the virtual class business. And I don't know, I can affirmatively state that I would not get as much out of just watching an instructor doing it over a Zoom video as I do with my as my workout partner. You know, I think that the people that thought you could actually replace pretty much every instructional style with some fucking monitored, recorded Zoom session is, I think they're just fucking insane. I think they're kind of stupid too. There are some things that I think that can be replaced by that medium, and I think that more people can work from home. However, I do not believe that mandates issued by somebody in an illegal and unconstitutional manner are the way to get there. You know, I think that attrition, market attrition, is probably the best agent of change. And I believe that probably the biggest fault that we've had over this last century is that we believe, or at least some people believe, that you can have a command and control economy and that it won't be 100% corrupt to its core. It's fucking silliness. It's what's going to happen. You know, if you put a barrier up, all you've done is put a premium on crime. That's it. You've made the crime a little bit harder to track and ferret out. And so even the things that you really should have been stopping because you were able to monitor it, you can't monitor because it drifts into that same space that all the legitimate business goes to, that is simply just trying to avoid you because you impose some additional cost on our commerce that is wholly unnecessary and adds zero value to either what I'm doing or what my partners in business are doing. You know, that's just the way that nature is. If you impose an artificial like pressure on things, it'll just shift around until that's no longer a beneficial strategy, and then you're back to square one again. Whereas if you'd have simply left it alone and trusted that at some point the participants in the market, if they felt that there was a particularly noxious force, that they themselves would withdraw their financial support of it, then you can kind of get over yourself and walk away. And I mean, I think that a lot of things like market abuse and whatnot, they're certainly easier to get away with before we had the internet. However, you know, things like social media, for as much as people like to bitch about them, one of the things they do is they convey these signals, some of which are very, very essential, from one person to another in a way that has never been possible before. Like if I said something specifically to you on Twitter, tens of thousands, maybe millions of people will actually see it. So if I'm complaining about something like, you know, oh, Ripple fucked up and they're not giving me my money, it's not just something that gets pushed under the rug on a customer service queue or something like that. No. It's now been shared with thousands, potentially millions of people. And if enough of those people have shared the same experience or just have a relatively neutral perspective on that particular company or currency or whatever, that they would take that into account when they're trying to make their decisions as to whether or not they want to deal with those people. You know, if they saw that all their friends are, you know, just completely losing their ass, they can't see the value in it themselves, you know, they won't put any money in it. They'll walk away and invest in something else, something that's probably, for all intents and purposes, far more beneficial to them if they were to invest their money in that way, or in that company. But it's the expectation that you can have some sort of federal authority viewing from the top down and saying, oh, that's a criminal activity. That's illegal according to our regulations. It's just fucking silliness. Running around with a sledgehammer and just basically bashing all the competition for the legacy financiers out there. And, that's a strategy that has a limited potential, and I think we're really running up to the end of it. I think that Bitcoin, the creation of Bitcoin itself, and as a matter of fact, some of the other alternatives to the digital fiat that we have, or regular fiat that we have, such as things like beans and whatnot, and they were talked about by 3 Douglas when he was on our show. If you want, you can check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, all that business. And he was talking about some of the things that he was involved in before Bitcoin even came up. And so it was kind of interesting to me to hear references about them, like beans. That was one I remember. Also, Money Tree was another one that was out there, where like it was this big tree and it had what looked like little dollar bills all over it, and you click on it, and if you got like, you got whatever amount that it said. So like if you clicked on it and said $1, you got $1. Now, I don't know if that one was just a scam to get people's credit card numbers or what, but it could have been. Nonetheless, it was one of those efforts to try and shift away from this model of just having the Federal Reserve in charge of issuing currency and us having to trust that they aren't completely debasing it every single moment of the day. That we can actually view what the financial activity is on the network in question, whether it be Bitcoin or Monero or Litecoin, and we could see our own financial traffic and the financial traffic of pretty much everybody else on that network. That's a level of transparency that has probably never been possible before. Well, I don't know if it's never been possible before. It's certainly never been as widely used as it is now. But I think that it took just the right kind of factors, the right pressures, the right conditions, and life began again. I said that something to that effect on my LinkedIn page. Here we go. Many people like Bitcoin. Fewer people understand what Bitcoin does, and even fewer understand what Bitcoin is. Much like life, the elements were present, the conditions were right, and so Bitcoin came to be. One of the determining factors is you. Yeah. You're the only factor that determines whether or not you're participating in one of these currencies. You're the only factor that changes whether or not you're Satoshi Nakamoto running your own cryptocurrency, and thousands, if not millions, of users are both mining and using it in daily commerce. Yeah, you're the only factor involved in that. If you determined at some point, either now or in the future, that you could fulfill the functions of the Federal Reserve, and you'd be willing to do so, that you would be willing to invest hardware, time, and effort into the proposition of creating a financial network that completely excludes in its function any federal or corporate entity. Keep it in mind. And so, as far as what we did in class today, or my workout session, I should say, I have the hardest time describing this stuff, mostly because it's like I'm learning a new language. In all honesty, I don't think I'll be able to properly articulate it, at least for another 6 months. I mean, I could walk you by like I could walk you through probably segment by segment what we were doing today, and I might even leave out one or two little segments. But as far as distilling it out into moves that you know the names of and can familiarize yourself with on like YouTube or something like that, it's a bit difficult. You know, I'm not saying things like, you know, it's a collar choke or it's a zipper choke or it's, you know, collar choke and zipper choke. Zipper choke is a collar choke. Anyway, point being is I'm still learning a new language here, basically. And one of the things that is different about it is the names of the moves. And I don't know, it lends to just a little bit of confusion between my ears. But you know, the one thing I've really been noticing is that it's not so much that I'm doing new moves, so much as I'm doing new approaches to them. You know, it's like in the last school that I was going to, you know, we all have full mount, you know, but like navigating from full mount or to full mount can be two different processes. You know, that because you don't have things like the pant leg to grab onto or your opponent's sleeve or their lapel, that just it changes the game completely. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't grips. It's just that the grips that are available are different. And like I was doing something, I think it was like, it's probably last Wednesday. I don't know. I went into an open mat, and when I went in, I rolled with this gentleman that was quite a bit better than I am, and that's fine, you know. But I noticed right away that there are certain things that you just don't get from anything else other than rolling. You know, like if you've got somebody wrapping you up in full guard, you know, it's like that is not a pleasant experience, especially if they're really experienced. They've got their ankles crossed and they're really pinching you tight with their knees and making it really difficult to navigate around. You know, I was able to get through his guard, but it was only presenting me right into, like, you know, a back taker or something like that. You know, like I said, the gentleman was quite good. But like I said, there's certain things, there's certain like habits that you kind of fall out of by not rolling. And so, you know, today I was trying to push myself to stay there to roll, and I'm still having like this mental issue where I'm having to fight myself to do the things that I really need to do. And one of them, I think anyway, at least in my rational mind, is be there and train longer, you know? And so, like, that's been really an uphill battle, and it was that way at my previous school, so I can't really blame it on the style of jiu-jitsu. You know, the issue is with me and my rate of learning and so on and so forth, and like my level of confidence in what I'm doing. You know, it's like my body is starting to get fluid enough in things like the swim move navigation to an arm bar. You know, I'm starting to get that one to the extent where I feel like I could probably do it while I'm actually rolling with somebody, but I'd have to be in the incidence of being on somebody's back, and you know, that's hard enough to get to. But you know, not only that, there's certain moves that I really liked doing in gi jiu-jitsu that I know there are analogs for in non-gi jiu-jitsu. You know, and whether it's just a matter of because I can't grab onto the jacket, I'm going to have to do something like get a full gable grip around my opponent's hips or something like that, that there is just like one or two little adaptations that if I have a hand available for, or if I have a leg available for, that I can utilize to you know, to serve as an analog for that missing piece, you know, that missing grip. And you know, I've felt more confident at this particular strain of jiu-jitsu while rolling before, and so it's not. I keep coming back to it, but it's a little struggle that I go through in getting to where I feel confident in what I'm doing, And at the moment, I only seem to have enough breath to manage for defense, and I was able to defend myself against the guy pretty well. I still ended up tapping out like 3 or 4 times, but I just took it in stride. I mean, I got kind of low expectations of myself at the moment, and I'm really just trying to keep from getting choked out, and trying to get to where I'm moving my hips around more and being more secure on my catches and my grips. So, like I said, it's an evolutionary process. You don't learn it all in one day. And I didn't expect that I would be able to walk in the door training with this new gentleman with a completely different language, same focus, same moves, just different language, a different context for holding it all together. But I'll get there eventually. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And we're going to start with some body count. I kind of drifted away from that, but I don't know. I just feel like there's no better way to start it, And there's one song in particular that I wanted to play, and I didn't get to it last time around. And for those of you who tried to tune in on Friday, my deepest apologies, but it was in fact Christmas, and I didn't have access to my terminal here, so I didn't put up any notices or anything like that. I will do my best to keep that from happening in the future. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with our first dance, and that'll be Body Count, Institutionalized 2014. First dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with The Virus of Life. Some people would consider life to be some sort of viral outbreak. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I wanted to start off with this tweet because it just struck me as so true, especially with as fickle and opinionated as some in crypto may be, or are. Anyway, it's by Romano. Any dip on BTC will be blamed on, quote, "this the fucking Ripple guys," and you will see Maxis desperately attempting to explain them they can directly sell to fiat, instead first to BTC and then to fiat. Yeah, that's the space, It's a type of competition that has not been seen yet, or at least hasn't been seen in a while. Although I think I've described this a few times on this show, that it's not actually the first time that we've seen the upwelling of some sort of quote-unquote innovation that comes along with currencies. There was a time when paper currency was actually illegal, and there was a reason for it. It was because there was massive inflation by the issue exerted and created by both the issuers of the paper currency and their counterfeiters. It's what made counterfeiting a crime. And so, there's a reason why these laws existed, not necessarily in the same way that they've actually been applied, but the point being that there have been bursts of innovation. So like the printing press comes around, and suddenly the script that people were circulating as money was no longer as valuable, because you could print up these nice bills, and those became kind of valuable for a little while, and then the printing press kept running and kept running and kept running, and representing obligations that were being put on the people, or the gold reserves of the king or whatever entity or nation state in question. They have all done it their own way, where they've debased the reserves by printing up untold bazillions of notes and issuing them out there, just, throwing them out there willy-nilly. Oh yeah, sure, you'll get your gold. And there were promises to redeem them on face value at the counter for gold or silver or whatever the underlying currency actually was. And this also happened with regard to coins too. It wasn't enough that coins are actually mined and made out of, say, gold or silver or whatnot. They could, in fact, be counterfeit nonetheless. But the creation of the press, the hard press for metals, and the creation of coins with this technology, as soon as that became a technology that was more available to the individual started thinking, well, gosh, other people that can do this make coins, so why don't I make my own coins? And so they contract with some sort of vendor, whether it be like General Foods or General Motors or somebody like that, where they contract with them and they say, hey, we'll make these tokens for you, and you could honor these tokens at the value of, whatever, and we'll make up whatever design you want on the coins and whatnot, and it'll basically be your money. And they did all kinds of arrangements like this. And the reason I know this is because I watch these shows about guys metal detecting, and they find them all the time. They find these tokens that are from various vendors and spanning from like I want to say about the 1800s forward, where the not the individual colonies, but like the states, they had presses, they had a mint where they were able to make their own coinage. And so we saw colony coins, we saw state coins, we saw territory coins, and then we saw corporate coins. There's this song, Sold My Soul to the Company Store. I think that's the name of it. But it was an expression from the actual user's perspective of using company script, where they would be extended credit in the company store by the company for things like food and whatnot. They'd go into the hole to the company store, and then at the end of the week they would be paid their script, a percentage of which would go to the company store, if not all of it, of course. The store is already, it's giving you clothes, it's giving you food, you're able to get by on that, right? Well, you can just work for your script and work off your debt that you're perpetually creating here at the company store. And there was some companies that, of course, would abuse this, and so their employees were perpetually falling further and further into debt with them, and not actually achieving escape velocity, where they're able to get out of that hole. And so it becomes a form of slavery. And so sold my soul to the company store. Man, that guy was really desperate. But that danger hasn't gone away. Where I think that we could see some sort of return to that, where you have somebody like working for Amazon, and Amazon supplies their everything and extends to them credit, and they fall behind because, of course, they're getting all these goodies and whatnot on that credit, and they extend that credit far in excess of their earning potential at Amazon or any other employer. And of course, Amazon doesn't really care because they're just creating an indentured servant. I mean, it's like, hey, you're going to be working for us until you die. Too fucking bad. You're going to have to live here. You're going to have to be like the South Koreans, where you live on site 6 days a week. And you work 6 days a week. No thank you. Anyway, so we got some crypto stuff, And I'm not exactly sure which one to get into first, because space is full of peril. But, hey, we are talking about money here, right? And so I think I want to start with this one first. It's on Decrypt, and it's a little bit older. This was authored on December 19th, 2020. And this is by Will Gottsagen. So yes, penis. And I may have actually read this one before, so if I recognize enough of it, I'll be like, yeah, and we'll move on. Privacy advocates react to proposed FinCEN rules. In brief, and we're not going to cover the bullet points, we're just going to get into it. The U.S. Treasury yesterday proposed a regulation that would require banks and crypto exchanges to confirm the identity of owners of non-custodial cryptocurrency wallets to whom its customers send crypto. According to the proposal put forward by the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, banks and other financial institutions that engage or issue money must, quote, submit reports, keep records, and verify the identity of some customers who send cryptocurrency into private wallets. These institutions would have to verify and record the names and physical addresses of wallet holders who received $3,000 in crypto and report those details to FinCEN when a customer sends over $10,000. The new regulation would subject wallet owners to the Bank Secrecy Act, which is designed to prevent things like money laundering. The logic is that increased record keeping would help police track criminals that use cryptocurrencies to prevent, quote, state-sponsored ransomware and cybersecurity attacks, sanctions evasion, and financing of global terrorism. The new rules aren't yet in effect. No, it's just a proposal, and they'll find out that it's going to get rejected. FinCEN is asking for written comments on the proposal until January 4th, a relatively short window owing to what the FinCEN cites as, quote, significant national security imperatives that necessitate a quicker than usual implementation. Marta Belcher, an attorney at Ropes and Gray, told Decrypt that this is an, quote, extremely abbreviated timeline. She's among several crypto analysts and lawmakers who believe that the proposal infringes on civil liberties. Goddamn right it does. Fourth Amendment. Thank you. Quote, this is part of a disturbing trend of the U.S. government increasingly turning to financial intermediaries to collect sensitive user data of cryptocurrency users and then getting hacked, and applying the financial surveillance of the traditional banking system to crypto, Belcher told Decrypt. Cynthia Loomis, the GOP lawmaker and Bitcoin-friendly senator-elect for Wyoming, argued on Twitter yesterday that the regulation would be, quote, a step backward for the USA, which is just beginning to, quote, realize the transformative effects of digital assets and financial technology. God damn right. It is refreshing when our legislators get this stuff right. Anyway, continuing on. Loomis also said that she's spoken with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin about the issue. Quote, let the sun shine in, Mr. Secretary, she said. I'm deeply concerned that the Treasury Department is considering a hasty rule governing self-hosted digital asset wallets and the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA. Rather than prematurely adopting a rule on this complex topic, Treasury should immediately begin a transparent process to engage with Congress and industry, building a consensus to drive America forward. Actually, you could just STFU on the whole thing, and we'd be just fine. Just shut the fuck up about it. Quit trying to regulate it. Your regulation, your participation in trying to regulate or govern these currencies is not needed. You already have all of the laws necessary, and I mean like actual laws, not some regulatory body's guidelines or some bullshit regulation that they drew up that basically amounts to a tautology. It's a security because we say it's a security. Yeah, fuck you. Rather than trying to apply that bullshit to crypto, just step the fuck off. Like I said, you've got enough actual laws. You have laws describing theft. You have laws describing fraud. Reams of such, I'm sure. All clearly delineating who is the victim, who's the perpetrator, and so on and so forth. That if there is actual injury beyond the expectation of risk in cryptocurrency. I mean, there is legitimate fraud. There is legitimate theft going on out there. And such crimes can be treated exactly as such because they were already defined as being crimes before cryptocurrencies even came along. If the action itself meets the description therein under fraud or theft, you can apply the law as it is written. You do not need to amend it one iota just because it applies to cryptocurrency. We have not radically altered that aspect of law in the least. Liability is the same. Responsibility is the same. So again, the idea that we need the SEC or we need the CFTC or the FATF or FinCEN or any of these other organizations pointing at what we're doing and saying, oh, that's fraud. No, bullshit. The market will figure that shit out. You know, I'll give you an example. BitConnect. When BitConnect came up and it was all over Twitter and it was all over other social media, those of us who had been here since, say, 2012, we knew it. We're like, dude, that is a Ponzi scheme. They are promising nothing of value, and if it ends up on any of the exchanges, you should probably avoid it. And nonetheless, there were individuals that invested in it anyway, despite our warnings, and some of them got wrecked and some of them made money. And where there were applicable criminal indictments, they were applied, and individuals did in fact go to jail. But see, none of that happens when they're a regulated entity, because effectively, because they are licensed, because they are regulated through a specific regulatory body, they are in fact in contract with them. And so when they have some sort of lapse in their regulatory obligations and whatnot, and the SEC comes around and says, hey, yo, you're not reporting, or, you know, what the fuck? That entity is now in lapse. They are in breach of contract. And that's why they are only fined. And they are not taken to fucking prison where they need to be. Because they ripped people off intentionally. And with wanton disregard for anybody it might impact in the wider market. And so yes, that person deserves to be in prison. Where it can be proven that they're acting in such a way in our market, yes. You've got laws that describe fraud. You've got laws that describe theft. You have something you can apply against them and provide justice, if not remediation, to the impacted victims. Continuing on. Warren Davidson, another conservative congressperson, echoed Loomis in a quote tweet, writing, quote, "Those charged with securing America's financial future should not fear the light of public debate and recorded votes." Jake Chervinsky, general counsel at Compound Finance, slammed the 15-day public comment window as, quote, midnight rulemaking. He was quick to point out the limited scope of the proposed regulation, quote, "This doesn't require KYC for every transaction with a non-custodial wallet. It isn't an outright ban on self-custody. It doesn't prohibit the act of using a permissionless network, he wrote, honing in on what he sees as the bright side before reiterating that the new rules would still be ineffective. Quote, "It doesn't stop VASP, virtual asset service provider customers, from transacting with bad guys. No, it doesn't. That's just what we said." Jake Chervinsky, the tweet says, "After a long wait, FinCEN has finally issued its new proposed rule extending AML regulation to non-custodial wallets. It could have been worse, really, but it is still a terrible rule in both process and substance. Here's what it says, what's wrong with it, and what we can do next." Or what we do next, rather. Continued Chervinsky, "The rule would impose huge burdens on VASPs, their customers, and society at large, perhaps infringing constitutional rights, without conveying any benefit to government in general, or law enforcement in particular, or users. For now," he said, the best crypto community can do is keep calm and carry on." Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And it doesn't really matter what the SEC or any of these other entities have to say about it. Sorry to say. Well, actually, I'm not. But, yeah, we won't go there. Anyway, when it does come to liability, like who the responsible parties are, they've also got that clearly defined. I mean, who's a money transmitter and all that business, and what exactly constitutes their actions if they are defined as a money transmitter, and what the regulatory burden may be, the insurance requirements, so on and so forth. That's all clearly established. If it wasn't before, they've done it via regulation since. And some of it, a very, very tiny, almost insignificant portion of it actually makes sense and may actually provide some good. But only because it clearly defines who is responsible or the type of entity that would be held responsible in the event that somebody were to lose somebody else's money. But again, that's about it. It refined the definition to a usable extent for application to cryptocurrencies. Nonetheless, we're adventurous, and we like to try things that aren't necessarily official. And certainly, things that require no permission will attract those that are adventurous enough to try. So I got this thing here, it's on Coindesk.com. Warp Finance suffers possible $8 million flash loan attack. And this is actually authored on December 17th. I mean, it was a salient point that I wanted to cover, but we may have actually covered it before, so we'll figure it out. And this is by Kevin Reynolds, and going by the picture and the name, yes, penis. But this motherfucker uses bullet points, and I hate bullet points. God damn it. Hate bullet points. Anyway, let's go. Decentralized finance DeFi platform Warp Finance was exploited for $8 million Thursday evening, possibly due to a flash loan attack, according to analysis portal DeFi Prime. The exploit appears to be a flash loan attack, DeFi Prime said, citing data from Etherscan. The scheme has become common in the fast-growing DeFi sector. Flash loans allow users to borrow funds without collateralization because the lender expects the funds would be returned instantly. Warp Finance, which enables users to deposit crypto tokens in exchange for stablecoin loans, said in a tweet it was experiencing problems. We are investigating irregular stablecoin loans taken out in the last hour. We recommend that you do not deposit any more stablecoins until we have clarity on the irregularities, the platform tweeted. And so, let's look to that, and hopefully it's going to provide us with an actual link to this thing. We are experiencing irregular stablecoin business. Somebody put a picture of the Grim Reaper holding his Reaper. Let's see here. Please help me. This is the first time that I've used DeFi. I invested 4,000 or 40,000 DAI in total. The money is all my savings. I can't live without it. Please, your rescue will save a fresh life. Oh my god. Oh man, that's so beyond expectation here. Let's see. And Jao Silva also responded on this. I was 100% wrecked. Wallets are empty and LPS belong to attacker. If your message is true, I'm really sorry for your loss. Oh man. Let's see. Responds, what can I do now? Can you help me? No. S says, there's nothing to do now. Jao Silva says, unfortunately, nothing you can do. I would say there is less than a 1% chance attacker refunds part of the funds. Sometimes it happens, but next time, don't invest all your funds in a new anonymous project without any guarantees. There aren't any guarantees to be had. Nobody can guarantee that shit to you. I mean, that's one of the reasons why DeFi is a dangerous space. But you know what? It serves utility to somebody. Otherwise, people wouldn't use it. Continuing on this thing. Let's see. FB Slow says, why would you put your entire savings into some DeFi project? Hacks happen almost every week. Yeah. Let's see. Is the first time I contact DeFi. I thought that decentralization was safe. I really know wrong this time. Oh God. I almost feel guilty laughing maniacally at this person's misfortune, but I don't. Well, did somebody put up a sign somewhere that says crypto is safe just because it's decentralized? I mean, really, did that happen? I mean, was I asleep? People or somebody out there is posting signs everywhere saying, "Hey, man, it's safe here. Water's good. No sharks. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here except for make money. Number go up." Because I don't recall ever posting any of those signs. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that I've posted plenty of warning signs, especially all over my YouTube channel. If you're not tuning into that, hey, that's on you. It's not like I haven't made it available. I've been posting all over social media for years now, so whatever. Anyway, so I'm looking through this thread and I'm really trying to find some sort of substantive article that gets us a little more clarity on this business. Oh, here's an interesting tweet, and see, and this is by Arjun Sindhav how come in communism state you are accumulated so much money? You sound like a scammer. Typical. If it happened to you, then too, no regret. You took risk to be rich and afford what you can lose. Do your own research, do mistakes, but be alive to make another one. Yeah. Let's see. And continuous says, so much bullshit in a single tweet, or you're the dumbest user I've met in the internet in a long time. First time you're using DeFi and you invest all your savings? Get out of here. I wouldn't say get out of here, but please do your homework. Try to understand what you're putting your money into. This could be you. I could be reading your tweets right now and laughing maniacally at your misfortune. Don't be like that. You don't have to be. There are cheaper ways to learn lessons. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And let's see, where do we want to go here? I'm feeling a little bit of Death Clock is in order, and so here it is, Death Harmonic, here on Coin Metal. And that was Nothing Face with Hidden Hands. So, as far as where else we're going to go today, I got this one here. We went through Warp Finance. Here we go. And this is kind of like an addendum to that last article. Although, I don't know that I agree with it. I personally don't really... I haven't invested anything in DeFi. I'll just be honest. It's not because I don't believe in decentralized exchanges, which I do. But I don't believe in the whole flash loan business. I think it's just... I don't know. I don't think it's a long-term viability thing. But, you know what? It's not my money. And that's the thing. If I invest my money in it, you can damn be sure I'm going to know about it. I'm certainly going to talk about it on this show at one point or another. But it's not something that I've invested in at all. So, anyway, this is on CoinDesk. DeFi exploits can't be pinned on flash loans, industry leaders say. Yeah, what else would you expect me to say? Anyway, this was authored on November 18th, 2020, although I will say that I don't think it's any less relevant now. And so this is authored at 12:02 PST PM. Yeah. And this is by William Foxley, so yes, penis. 9 months ago, in a Denver convention center, a booth sat empty. Littered with token stickers, the table was supposed to hold the physical representatives of decentralized finance protocol, BZX. It remained empty, however, as the team struggled to make sense of the digital forces twisting their young project. BZX, as they would come to find out, as they would come to find out, was 2020's flash loan patient zero. New cases haven't stopped in the months since then. Take November, 2 million from Acropolis, then 3.3 million from Cheese Bank, followed by 6 million from Value Finance, and finally 7 million from Origin Protocol, which we covered that one on this show. Flash loans remain the common thread through all of these recent attacks. These DeFi native tools enable a savvy investor to take out unbacked loans and amass leverage behind a position. For example, Monday's Origin Protocol attacker pulled a 70,000 Ethereum loan from decentralized derivatives platform DYDX. It enabled the attacker to up the amount of loot sucked out of the project. Yet, while they may be the string connecting these exploits, flash loans are not the cause in and of themselves, industry leaders told CoinDesk. Oracle manipulation and flash loans. It may not even be fair to characterize the recent DeFi exploits as, quote, flash loan attacks. Chainlink co-founder Sergey Nazarov told CoinDesk in an email. Nazarov said flash loans at their core are just lump sums of capital thrown at successful trade positions. The real issue lies with poorly constructed DeFi projects. Quote, while many are trying to frame this trend as the result of flash loans, most of these exploits could have been committed by any well-capitalized actor. All a flash loan does is temporarily make anyone a well-capitalized actor, Nazarov said. DeFi's projects are smart contracts deployed on to the Ethereum blockchain. They require outside information, namely pricing data, to execute actions baked into each contract. The pricing information is liable to distortions simply because of how the Ethereum blockchain packages transactions, that is, every 15 seconds. Prices can move every which way in 15 seconds, which forces smart contracts to act on stale data. Moreover, many DeFi applications rely on in-house pricing oracles created by token reserves, non-decentralized pricing feeds, or other ad hoc solutions. For example, Harvest Finance leaned on another DeFi project, Curve Finance, to price its token pools. In cases like Harvest Finance, interoperability became a negative dependency. A flash loan worth $50 million deviated asset prices temporarily away from the market value, creating an arbitrage opportunity. A project that had a more robust pricing system wouldn't have fallen prey to the exploit, the theory goes. No. If you're depending on somebody else for a data feed, any number of different types of attacks can be utilized to exploit that. Continuing on. Let's see here. Julian Boudeloop said on Twitter, no hacker, just a simple $24 million juicy arbitrage on Harvest Finance. Oh man, that's weird. So 50 million USDC flash loan at Uniswap protocol, swap 11 million USD/USDT at Curve Finance, 61 million on FUSDT Vault, swap 11 million USDT/USDC YUSDT, withdraw, i.e. that's a virtual token there, YUSDT, withdraws 61 million with a $500,000 profit. Repeat and clean into Tornado Cash. Yeehaw. Are audits enough? No. Another point developers are coming to grips with is that code audits alone don't make a DeFi project safe. Speaking with CoinDesk via WhatsApp, QuantStamp CEO Richard Ma said developers need to understand markets themselves, perhaps more so than the code they deploy to Ethereum blockchain. QuantStamp has audited or consulted on multiple top DeFi projects such as Curve, Finance, MakerDAO, and SushiSwap, among others. Understanding the products and the business logic is much more time-consuming and important than a straight-up code review, Ma said. Indeed, Acropolis was audited twice by two separate firms, but still suffered a re-entrancy attack. This sort of attack occurs when a smart contract's backdoor is left ajar. The contract state, which records how many tokens the contract has, among other things, fails to update quickly enough when tokens are removed, allowing the attacker to move more coins out than okay. It's not dissimilar to a lazy bank teller continuing to fork over funds from an overdrawn account. Combining audit redundancies with insurance is a step at least one major cryptocurrency firm is now urging. Quote, "We're recommending our portfolio companies get multiple audits from more than one provider," Paul Veraditakit Oh man, that sounds like a made-up name. Partner at venture capital firm Pantera said in an email, quote, "We also think that projects and investors may want to buy insurance to protect themselves." Oh, that's hilarious. It is notable that none of the top DeFi projects have suffered Oracle attacks spurred by flash loans, DYDX founder Antonio Giuliano told CoinDesk in a message. Many flash loans used in attacks have originated on his platform, which offers the product without a fee. He said that, quote, "There's a big divide between the well-engineered projects and others, a divide being fleshed out in real time by flash loans." Quote, "In the same way you wouldn't blame Ethereum for an implementation detail of the chain being used for an attack, the way flash loans are being used in exploits is the fault of developers building insecure applications, not the flash loans themselves," Giuliano said. I would agree on that point. You know, it'd be like blaming a firearms manufacturer for somebody killing somebody else with one of their guns. It's like, this thing is designed to put holes in things at 1,300 feet per second. It doesn't discriminate. We leave that up to the person holding it. So yeah, these flash loans, they're an interesting tool. I'm sure they have some sort of utility for somebody at some point in the line. I would anticipate something to the effect of international transfers on some types of networks, not necessarily Bitcoin or anything like that, could utilize things like flash loans to facilitate quick transfers of monetary funds or monetary value. And that's a perfectly viable, perfectly legitimate utilization of this technology. However, it's quite clear that it can be abused. And it really is up to us, the end users, the people that are participating as oracles, as miners, as validators. It is up to us to be looking out that we're not allowing those kind of things to happen using our hardware, to the extent that is possible, that is. Because there is a point in which you're actually going to interfere with legitimate activity, i.e. legitimate commerce, in which there is no immediate victims, and is only somebody transferring monetary value to somebody else in exchange for a good or service, or in trade for another coin. And like I said, that's the big concern with regard to FinCEN or any other organization talking about trying to regulate these projects beyond the scope of actual criminal activity involving actual victims. You know what I mean? Like, really, if we wanted to get down to it, most of these attacks and whatnot are facilitated by soft targets. And that means social engineering. And so there are individuals involved in it, whether knowingly or not, that should be facing repercussions for their mishandling of people's sensitive data. Because you have to put the foot down there, because you cannot risk that somebody is doing it intentionally. Because then they'll make a business out of it. And before you know it, you're not out just a few $1,000s here and there. You're out millions of dollars, if not just up front, but also in litigation. Because you can bet your ass, if it impacts the wrong person, they will take your ass to court. And they don't give a fuck about how big you are, because they're just as big as you. Anyway, this is kind of an interesting response to this type of attack. And I think there was another attack on these guys too. Anyway, this is on CoinDesk.com. Cover protocol may launch new token following attack. And this is authored on December 28th, 2020 at 9:30 a.m. PST. And this is by David Pan, so yes, penis. Cover Protocol announced it's exploring launching a new cover token through a snapshot after its current one was abused in a minting attack by a quote white hat hacker on Monday morning. The hacker, which could be an individual or a small group, claimed responsibility for an exploit in the decentralized finance insurance project, tricking the protocol into minting 40 quintillions of cover tokens. The hacker cashed out the tokens in other cryptocurrencies, including Ether, DAI, and WBTC, but later gave all the funds back to the protocol. The 4,350 Ethereum that has been returned by the attacker will also be handled through a snapshot to the LP token holders. We are still investigating, according to the project's Twitter account, urging its users not to buy any cover tokens now. Let's see. The development team behind Cover Protocol, which recently merged with Yearn, is still investigating exactly how the attacker exploited its system. Sorowit Siriarkin, my apologies, Chief Technology Officer at Band Protocol, said the attack appears to be related to a bug in the smart contract where memory and storage were used incorrectly. Cover's token price has been on a wild ride over the last day, plummeting over 75% to $177 on news of the hack, before partially rebounding to over $240 after the hacker announced they'd return the funds. Oh my gosh, sounds like you got real lucky. Maybe. Depends on what they did with the funds in the meantime. You know, if they withdrew the funds, cleaned up the funds, did something with the funds, re-cleaned the funds, and then sent it in, I don't know. They could have walked away with some money that was not due to them. Anyway, I got this tweet here, and it's corresponding with that. And this is on Cover Protocol's Twitter. Hello everyone, we are exploring providing a new cover token through a snapshot before the minting exploit was abused. The 4,350 Ethereum that has been returned by the attacker, will also be handled through a snapshot to the LP token holders. We are still investigating. Do not buy cover. Let's see here. It's kind of following the Twitter feed here. Tutor Holo Tescu says, I really think you should be more cautious with your announcements. Stop wrecking your project and announce that all holders of cover will receive the new fork. Additional compensation can be explored for ones who sold after the exploit, but stop fudding yourselves. That's a really good point. Let's see here. Here we go. Chick G says, take the snapshot from the timestamp you mentioned. Do not buy cover. This is completely your fault and not the token holder's fault. You cannot make your investors liable for the loss when some just simply bought the dip. Not everyone is on Twitter every minute. Let's see. Boon Chu says the snapshot needs to be from up until the exploit happened. Holders lost real money. I lost $5,000 because the tokens I held crashed from $900 to $40. My stop loss, which was at my entry, kicked in at $300, but you think you bought the dip. Yeah. Yeah, these guys are probably going to face some lawsuits, because whatever resolution they come up with, it's probably going to disenfranchise or at least piss off somebody else. And, like the tweeters in this thread said, they lost real money. I mean, that's going to piss people off, That's all there is to it. But yeah, was there anything else? Let's see. No, that was the same tweet. And, yeah, we'll do this one too. And, well, wait a minute. No, that's not it. Yeah, here we go. Speaking of fudding yourself, this isn't necessarily Ripple fudding themselves. This is the SEC fudding Ripple. This is on news.bitcoin.com, and this is by Jamie Redman. It was authored 2 days ago. So yes, penis. Ripple lawsuit could invoke billions in losses to, quote, innocent third parties, says former SEC commissioner. The crypto community is extremely curious about what will happen to Ripple Labs and the token asset XRP after the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission recently filed a lawsuit against Ripple and two executives. On December 25th, the large cryptocurrency exchange Bitstamp announced delisting XRP for U.S. customers, and a former SEC commissioner thinks the lawsuit will invoke multi-billion-dollar losses to innocent third parties. Let's see. Luxembourg crypto exchange drops XRP support for U.S. customer. Quote, will closely follow the unfolding situation and adapt accordingly. One of the most topical conversations in the crypto space, besides the all-time high prices, is the recent charges against Ripple Labs that were filed by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC said that the regulator, quote, filed an action against Ripple Labs Inc. and two of its executives, who are also significant security holders, alleging that they raised over $1.3 billion through an unregistered ongoing digital asset securities offering. They aren't securities. Following the SEC charges, three exchanges, OSL, Crosstower, and Beaksy, decided to drop XRP support alongside fund Bitwise Asset Management. On December 25, 2020, the cryptocurrency exchange based in Luxembourg, Bitstamp, announced it would be halting XRP services for all U.S. customers on January 8, 2021. In a blog post about the subject, Bitstamp said, quote, in light of the recent SEC filing against Ripple Labs Inc., which alleges that XRP is a security, we are going to halt all trading and deposits of XRP for our U.S. customers on January 8, 2021 at 9 p.m. UTC. We will closely follow the unfolding situation and continue to adapt accordingly. Our U.S. customers will still be able to withdraw XRP from Bitstamp. Customers from other countries are not affected. SEC action will impose substantial harm on innocent holders. The XRP action is also happening as SEC Chairman Jay Clayton decides to give his resignation. The SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce announced on Twitter that Elad Roisman has been appointed the acting chair of the U.S. financial regulator. Quote, congratulations, Chairman Roisman, Pierce tweeted on December 24th. I look forward to your leadership of the SEC, she added. Moreover, the blog's Frank Chaparro obtained a letter from Joseph Grundfest, a former commissioner of the U.S. SEC. According to a letter to Jay Clayton, Grundfest allegedly said that the Ripple lawsuit was, quote, unprecedented and there's no pressing reason compels immediate enforcement action. The views of a soon incoming administration in Congress as to the regulation of transactions similar to those at issue can differ substantially from the current perspectives, Grunfest's letter details. The former SEC commissioner further wrote, quote, "Simply initiating the action will impose substantial harm on innocent holders of XRP, regardless of the ultimate resolution. Upon learning of the proceedings, intermediaries will cease transacting in XRP because of the associated legal risk. The resulting reduction in liquidity will cause XRP's value to decline." The SEC's acting chair, Elad Roisman, also reportedly discussed the evolving cryptocurrency markets back in 2018. Quote, "The SEC must examine and re-examine its rules, regulations, and guidelines to ensure that they are still working as intended to accomplish the SEC's mission," Roisman said at the time. Quote, "This is most recently manifested in areas such as data protection and cybersecurity, as well as the emergence of new investments and technologies such as initial coin offerings and blockchain." What do you think about Bitstamp dropping XRP for U.S. customers and for the letter from former Commissioner Joseph Grunfest? Let us know what you think in the subject below. And let me see if there's actually any responses on this. Oh, there's 4 comments. Quid Pro Joe says cowering to a corrupt SEC during the banker bidding, doing the banker bidding isn't the answer. Goddamn right. Andre responds, "It is time for the U.S. citizens to sue the SEC for incompetence and for manipulating the markets in a negative manner with no consideration for investors. As for Bitstamp, I agree 100%. Sweet Victory says, "My take, the suit is an attempt to devalue XRP so that banks can buy it on a dime and double their profit. SEC will soon come after Ethereum and Bitcoin." No. I don't think that they're going to chase after Ethereum, but they may chase after Blockstream and some of the developers that have been trying to guide the development path of Bitcoin. Anyway, continuing on, Mark Evans says, "This draconian action by such a dubious agency is precisely why cryptocurrencies are becoming increasingly attractive as a form of money/payment outside of the, quote, system. The USD is already in decline, which will only be exacerbated next year with a ramp up of QE and unsustainable socialist policies from the WH admin. It will continue to decline as the world reserve currency, eventually rendering it almost worthless, hence the cash is trash mantra." I don't think it'll go quite that far, but I think it will lose quite a bit of ground against cryptocurrencies. And you know, this move by the SEC, in all honesty, I regard it as nothing more than panic on the part of central bankers. And that's pretty much it. You know, ultimately, I think they might end up fining Ripple Labs and maybe the executives personally, but they're not going to stop Ripple. XRP will still be out there, and like it or not, it will still have a market. If it was ever utilized by other people outside of Ripple, and that they had some sort of appreciation for the service and the quality thereof, they'll stay with it, and they'll completely ignore everything the SEC says. But you'll notice all of this shit is only impacting Ripple here in the US. The percentage of Ripple users here in the US is probably relatively tiny by comparison to the rest of the planet. I mean, we're about what? Like somewhere between 350 and 400 million people here in the United States. There's like 8 billion or 9 billion people on planet Earth. That's a much bigger customer base than just the US. So this is kind of like turning the US into like a digital gulag with reference to Ripple, at least on one or two exchanges. It's still trading on other exchanges. But ultimately, I think that the SEC is probably going to waste a lot of money and a lot of time and unnecessarily FUD XRP on the market. But we'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with a little more music. And as far as where to go next, I haven't picked anything out. Here we go. A little bit of Pantera for you. Cowboys from Hell. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Sepultura with The Hunt. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Oh, wait a minute. Let me check the calendar here really quick. Check and verify. I think we'll be back at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Especially not the SEC. And so as far as our last dance for tonight, I got one picked out. It's a rarity that it happens, but I did pick this one. And so here it is. Skindred, Nobody. Last dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.